She didn't plan to break protocol that day. Elena Ramos had spent 6 years on the border, doing everything by the book. Check documents, ask questions, radio for backup when needed, never go alone, never pursue beyond the checkpoint. But when she saw the fear in that little girl's eyes, silent, desperate, pleading, the book went out the window. Because 15 years ago, Elena Ramos wasn't a Border Patrol agent. She was Staff Sergeant Elena Ramos, U.S. Army Special Forces, and she'd tracked enemy combatants through mountains, deserts, and jungles, where most people couldn't find their own shadow. Today, she'd track 3 kidnappers across 40 miles of Texas desert, alone, at night, with nothing but instinct, memory, and a promise she'd made long ago. No one gets left behind. The sun was already brutal at 10 a.m., the kind of heat that turned asphalt into a shimmer and made mirages dance on the horizon. Elena stood at the primary inspection lane of the Rio Grande checkpoint, 30 miles north of the Mexican border, where Interstate 90 cut through endless scrubland like a scar. She'd been on shift since 6 a.m. 4 hours of checking passports, looking at cargo manifests, waving through families on vacation and truckers hauling goods. Routine, predictable, safe. Elena was 44 now, lean and compact, with dark hair pulled into a tight bun and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. She wore the green uniform of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, badge over her heart, sidearm on her hip. Most people who passed through saw just another federal agent doing a job. They didn't see the tattoo on her left forearm, usually hidden beneath her sleeve. A wolf's head with a compass rose, the mark of a Special Forces tracker. They didn't see the faint scars on her hands from barbed wire in the rough terrain. They didn't know that she could read a landscape like a book and follow a trail most people couldn't even see. That morning, a white Chevy Silverado pulled up to her lane. Texas plates, tinted windows. 2 men in front, both wearing sunglasses despite being inside the truck. Elena stepped forward, her hand resting casually near her belt. Not on her weapon, just close. "Morning," she said, her tone neutral. "Citizenship?" The driver, mid-30s with a trimmed beard and a Dallas Cowboys cap, handed over 2 passports without looking at her. U.S. citizens, just heading home. Elena flipped through the passports, both legitimate. Both matched the men's faces. No warrants. No red flags in the system. But something felt wrong. The passenger, younger, nervous, tapping his fingers on the door panel, kept glancing at the rearview mirror. Not at her, at the truck bed. "What are you hauling?" Elena asked. "Construction supplies," the driver said. "Drywall, tools. We've been working a job site near Del Rio." Elena walked slowly around the truck. The bed was covered with a black tarp, tied down tight, standard, legal. But as she passed the rear window, she saw it. A flicker of movement, just a shadow. Then, barely visible through the tinted glass, a small hand pressed against the inside of the rear cab window. Tiny fingers, a child's hand. And then it was gone. Elena's heart rate spiked, but her face didn't change. She walked back to the driver's window. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." The driver's jaw tightened. "Why?" "We're clean." "Routine inspection. Won't take long." The 2 men exchanged a glance. Then the driver smiled. Too wide, too fast. "Sure thing, officer." Both men climbed out. Elena radioed for backup, keeping her tone calm. "Unit 12, requesting secondary inspection. Lane 3. "Copy, Unit 12. ETA, 2 minutes. But 2 minutes was too long. As Elena moved toward the truck bed, the driver bolted. The passenger sprinted in the opposite direction. And before she could react, the Silverado's engine roared to life. Someone else was inside. The truck peeled out, tires screeching, blowing through the checkpoint barrier and disappearing down the southbound lane. Elena ran to her patrol vehicle, already keying her radio. Suspect vehicle fleeing south on I-90, white Chevy Silverado, Texas plates. She rattled off the number. Possible kidnapping in progress. 3 juveniles may be inside. Her supervisor's voice crackled back. Unit 12, do not pursue. Repeat, do not pursue. We'll coordinate with state police. Elena's hand hovered over the ignition. She saw that little hand again, pressed against glass. Silent. Terrified. She turned the key. Unit 12, I'm in pursuit. Ramos, stand down. She switched off the radio. The Silverado had a head start, but Elena knew these roads. She'd driven them 1,000 times. And more importantly, she knew what came next. 3 miles south, the interstate split. One route continued toward the border. The other turned east into ranchland. Rough terrain, dirt roads, no cameras, no witnesses. That's where they'd go. Elena pushed the cruiser to 90, watching the horizon. There, dust cloud rising in the distance, veering off the main road. She followed. The paved road gave way to gravel, then dirt. The Silverado was fast but reckless, fishtailing around curves, kicking up plumes of dust. Elena stayed back just enough to keep visual contact, without spooking them into doing something desperate. Then the truck disappeared over a ridge. When Elena crested the hill, the road was empty. She slowed, scanning. Tire tracks veered left into dense brush. She followed them for half a mile, until the track stopped at an abandoned ranch. Collapsed barn, rusted fencing, no signs of life. The Silverado was gone. Elena parked, grabbed her go-bag from the trunk, water, first aid kit, flashlight, tactical knife, and stepped out into the heat. She crouched by the tire tracks, fresh, deep treads in soft dirt. They'd turned around here, doubling back. Classic evasion. Elena closed her eyes and let 15 years of training take over. She tracked insurgents through the mountains of Afghanistan, followed smugglers across the Sonoran Desert, found enemy supply caches hidden under brush and rock, where satellite imagery saw nothing. Tracking wasn't about following footprints. It was about reading intent, understanding terrain, predicting movement. These men were panicking. They'd gone off-road to lose her, but they didn't know the land. They'd head for cover, somewhere with shade, water, concealment. Elena scanned the horizon. 2 miles east, a line of cottonwood trees marked an old riverbed. Dry most of the year, but it offered cover. She started walking. The sun climbed higher. The temperature hit 105. Elena's uniform clung to her back, but she didn't slow. She moved in a steady rhythm, eyes sweeping the ground. Broken branches, disturbed rocks, a tire track in soft sand. They'd come this way. 3 hours in, she found the truck. It was hidden under a cluster of mesquite trees, covered hastily with brush. The engine was still warm. Elena drew her sidearm and approached slowly. The truck was empty. No keys. No people. But inside, on the back seat, she found a pink sneaker, child-sized, and a juice box, half empty. Her jaw tightened. She scanned the area. Footprints. 2 adults, 3 children, heading northeast, away from the road, deeper into the desert. Elena checked her phone. No signal. She was alone. She started tracking. The footprints were erratic. The children were struggling. Short strides, frequent stops. One of them was barefoot now, stepping carefully to avoid cactus. Elena's heart ached, but she kept moving. By late afternoon, she'd covered 12 miles. The tracks led to a dry wash, a narrow canyon with steep rock walls. Good cover. Bad escape routes. She heard voices. Elena crouched low, moving silently along the canyon edge. Below, in a shaded alcove, she saw them. 2 men. 3 children. 2 girls, 1 boy, all under 10 years old. The kids sat huddled together, wrists bound with zip ties. One of the men paced, phone in hand, cursing. "No signal out here. We need to move." The other man, the driver from the checkpoint, shook his head. "We wait till dark. Cops will be searching the roads." Elena assessed the situation. 2 armed men. High ground advantage on her side. Kids in the line of fire. She couldn't call for backup. Couldn't wait. She had 1 shot. Elena circled around, moving downwind. She picked up a fist-sized rock and hurled it into the brush 50 yards away. Both men spun toward the sound, weapons drawn. Elena moved. She came down the slope fast and silent, using the terrain for cover. The first man didn't even see her. She was on him in seconds, disarming him with a wrist lock and dropping him with a knee to his solar plexus. The second man turned, raising his pistol. "Don't move!" Elena froze, hands visible. 10 feet away, the kids behind him. "You're making a mistake," she said calmly. "Shut up. Drop your weapon." Elena lowered her gun slowly, setting it on the ground. "You're not going to shoot me," she said. "Because the second you do, every law enforcement agency in Texas will be here, and you'll never make it out." The man's hand trembled. "You don't know that." "I do. Because I've been doing this a long time." She took 1 step forward. "But here's what I also know. Those kids, they're scared, they're tired, and they want to go home." Another step. "You can still walk away from this. Let them go. Disappear. I won't follow." The man hesitated. Elena saw the doubt in his eyes. She took 1 more step, and then she moved. Fast. Fluid. Muscle memory from 1,000 drills. She closed the distance, deflected his gun hand, swept his legs, and had him face down in the dirt in 3 seconds. Both men secured. Kids safe. Elena cut the zip ties with her knife and knelt beside the children. "You're okay now," she said softly. "I'm going to get you home." The little girl, who'd pressed her hand against the truck window, looked up at Elena with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Are you a soldier?" Elena smiled gently. "Not anymore. But I remember how." It took Elena 4 hours to walk the kids back to her vehicle, carrying the youngest on her back when she couldn't walk anymore. By the time they reached the checkpoint, the sun was setting, and a full search team was mobilizing. Her supervisor was furious. "You went off comms. You pursued alone. You violated every protocol we have." Elena stood at attention. "Yes, sir. You could have been killed. Those kids could have been killed. Yes, sir." He stared at her for a long moment, then he sighed. "You're suspended pending review." Elena nodded, but behind him, through the checkpoint window, she saw the 3 children reunited with their families, crying, hugging, safe. And she knew she'd do it again. 3 weeks later, Elena sat in a conference room at Border Patrol headquarters in El Paso. Formal review. Potential termination. The panel consisted of 3 senior officials. They'd reviewed her file, her record, the incident report. One of them, a woman with silver hair and colonel's bars from a previous military career, leaned forward. "Staff Sergeant Ramos." "It's just Agent Ramos now, ma'am." The woman smiled faintly. "Old habits." "Your military file is impressive. Special Forces tracker, 14 deployments, commendations for locating high-value targets." Elena said nothing. "You broke protocol, endangered yourself, went off-grid for 9 hours." A pause. "But you also saved 3 children from a trafficking ring we've been hunting for 2 years." Another official spoke. "The men you apprehended are cooperating." We've arrested 6 more suspects, shut down an entire operation. The woman slid a folder across the table. We're not terminating you, Agent Ramos. We're transferring you. Joint Task Force, Border Security and Human Trafficking Interdiction. You'll be doing what you do best, tracking. Elena opened the folder. New assignment, new team, same mission. You'll have full operational authority. No more standing at checkpoints unless you choose to. Elena looked up. Why? Because you saw what others missed. You acted when others hesitated, and you brought 3 kids home. The woman stood. That's what we need. Elena closed the folder. When do I start? 6 months later, Elena Ramos stood in a briefing room, leading a team of 12 agents. On the wall behind her, a map of the border with 40 red pins, trafficking routes they'd shut down. She wore the same uniform, the same badge. But now, when people looked at her, they saw what she'd always been. Not just an agent, a hunter, a guardian, and when a new case came in, another truck, another checkpoint, another silent cry for help. She was already moving. Because some skills you never lose, some promises you never break, and some missions never end. Not everyone who serves wears a uniform forever. Not everyone who fights does it with a gun. And not everyone who saves lives does it in the spotlight. Some do it quietly, at checkpoints, in deserts, in moments when no one's watching, and the rule book says, stop. But they don't stop, because they remember who they were, and they honor what they swore. Elena Ramos didn't need a rank anymore. She didn't need medals or recognition. She just needed to know that when a child's hand pressed against glass, someone would see it, and someone would come. So I'll ask you, have you ever ignored your instincts to follow the rules? Have you ever seen something wrong and walked away because it wasn't your job? Elena didn't, and because of that, 3 children went home. Share your story in the comments. Tell us about the time you chose courage over protocol, or the person who did. Subscribe to the Human Stories, because we tell the stories of people who don't wait for permission to do what's right. Thank you for watching. And remember, the most dangerous thing you can do is see someone who needs help and look away.